Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast where we talk about the cutting-edge science, wisdom of the ages, lessons from pop culture, and our own experiences about how to be happier. This week we'll talk about why and how we should aim to make one new friend in 2025, and we'll also discuss an interesting Know Yourself Better question about whether you're more of a snapshot person or more of a movie person. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, secrets of adulthood. I'm in my little home office in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, give us an update on the wildfires.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. Gretch, I continue to be really lucky with the wildfires so far and want to thank everyone again this week for reaching out and asking how we're doing. You know, Los Angeles is just reeling.
Yes.
Everyone's devastated.
Yes.
So many people have lost their homes. It's kind of incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Some people know dozens of people who've lost their homes. I mean, it's just horrendous. But the firefighters and all the first responders and volunteers have been incredible. Communities are coming together, but, you know, some of these communities are just gone. So
Yeah.
it's going to take years, you know, decades really to get past this.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about it.
Right.
Except I feel for everybody. I don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know what to say. Hang in there, Los Angeles. And then in other news, we have a few updates before we launch in.
Yes, Gretchen, we have an Ask Us Anything episode coming up very soon. So send us your questions. You can ask us anything, whatever you want.
And then we got an email from Cassie that was really moving to me. It was about a Little Happier that I did a few weeks ago. So I have to say with the Little Happiers, I really spend a lot of time on these Little Happiers, on these little stories, and they're very, very meaningful to me. But, you know, you don't always know what's going to resonate with other people. And so I wanted to share this email from Cassie. But here's some backstory. So if you haven't listened to that episode, you know what she's talking about. I was mentioning a hadith that I read about in a novel that I love called Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. A hadith is a recorded saying or action of the Prophet Muhammad, and these have been collected in various compilations. And I'll read the hadith that she's talking about, which is recounted by Ali, who is the father of the main character, Cyrus. So he's reflecting on a hadith he'd learned as a child. Ali says, "Once, when I was a boy, our teacher told us the hadith of the starving man. The man was dying in the desert, got on his knees and begged to God, 'Please help me. I'm starving, nearly dead, too tired to continue looking for water. I don't want to hurt anymore. Please, Almighty Lord, take pity, end my suffering.' God, in his infinite wisdom, sent the man a baby, an infant to take care of. And so the man had purpose, a reason to stay alive."
And here's the email from Cassie. She said, "Your Little Happier of the hadith about the dying man in the desert where God gives the man a baby nearly stopped me in my tracks. For 2.5 years, beginning a few months after we got married, my husband has been battling chronic dizziness that we recently learned may never fully resolve. While trying to get answers, we've put off having children so that we can focus on his recovery. But now, knowing that things may never be perfect health-wise for him, I've been left at an emotional impasse on knowing when it will be the right time to proceed with having children. Your message felt like it was a message straight from God, giving me the encouragement that perhaps moving forward into parenthood will restore his sense of purpose and help, not hurt his journey toward recovery." Oh, that is so beautiful, Gretchen.
It is so beautiful. I will post a link if you want to hear the whole episode of Little Happier. But yes, I loved reading that email.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, this week our Try This at Home tip is to make one new friend in 2025. Of course, you can make more than one friend, but really make one friend in 2025.
Well, I love this, Gretch. We've talked a lot about making friends, cultivating friendship.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So one of the things research shows, contemporary science reveals, ancient philosophers agree that having relationships is an absolutely key part of a happier life. And when you look at people who are happier, they have more strong relationships. And so this is really something that is worth spending time and energy and effort toward, is to make friends. That means identifying somebody who could be a new friend and then cultivating that friendship. And a friend is not just somebody who you'd have fun like having a conversation with, but this is someone you would confide in. This is someone who you see outside the context where you would usually run into each other. You see each other at the office or you see each other at soccer games. It's somebody that you will text with, somebody you trust, somebody you like to spend time with.
Now, one question I have for you, Gretchen, is can we count reviving a dormant friendship?
Yeah, absolutely. That counts. If you have somebody that you were friends with 5 years ago, 10 years ago, last year, whatever, back in high school, sometimes an easy way to make a new friend is to revive a dormant friendship. So that counts. And yeah, that's one of the things whenever you set a goal, like make one new friend, it's like, well, what counts? So reviving a dormant friendship counts, a new friend counts. And it's funny about saying one new friend, but Elizabeth, you and I talk about how sometimes having an actual target makes something easier.
Yes.
Like Fryman 50, when you were going to hike Fryman Canyon 50 times, there's something about the number 50. So to me, making one friend is different even than like making a friend.
Right.
Because it just feels more like, okay, this is on. Can I get that one person figured out?
Yes. I love the idea of having a goal. I mean, as you say, it's always nice to have a quest.
Yes.
And what's, more pleasant than a friendship quest?
Right. And then you're looking around the people in your social circle saying, oh, who here is somebody that I could make a new friend? And it's so energizing to make a new friend. I have one big new friend that I've made in like the last 3 years, and it's so great. It's so great to have a new friend. One thing I should point out also to think about is that the research suggests that it's good to have friends of different ages. And so you might think, well, maybe there's somebody in a completely different generation or somebody that you engage with in a different way. But then you might be like, well, maybe I need to think about whether I could actually be friends with this person, move them into the friend zone.
Yes. So to be clear, this is someone you could already know, but just who's an acquaintance, not a friend. You don't have to go out and meet someone new, although that's fine too.
That's fine too, but I do think that for most people, probably it's going to be like, oh, there's this person that I kind of like that's sort of on the outskirts and I want to bring them into a friendship.
Yes.
And remember, it takes time, energy, awkwardness. It's not always that easy,
Yeah.
But remember, people like to have friends. And if you want to make friends, it's likely they're going to want to make friends. So it's really worth it. It's a major happiness booster. And you could have that friend for decades to come. So it's worth trying to make 2025 a year of at least one more friend.
Yes.
So let us know if you do try this at home and how setting the goal of making one new friend works for you. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Email us at podcast@GretchenRubin.com. As always, for the show notes, you can go to happiercast.com/518. This is episode 518.
Coming up, we have a walking happiness hack, but first, this break. You know how sometimes a meal leaves you energized and other times sluggish, foggy, or even hungrier? That may be your glucose talking. Foods that are sugar and carb heavy, and you know my experience here, cause your body's glucose levels to spike, often followed by a crash. This matters because it turns out 88% of us have suboptimal metabolic health. So glucose could be the next big thing to track when it comes to health. That's why we're excited about Lingo, a new biowearable from Abbott that tracks your glucose in real time.
I've been wearing Lingo for weeks now, and I've learned that for my body, if I move around after I eat a meal, my spike is much more gradual, much lower. And so I've learned that I just need to get up and move around after I eat. What works for me might work very differently for you, but that's what works for my body. To see how your body responds to food and learn what you can do to improve your metabolism, try Lingo. It starts at $49 for a 2-week plan, no prescription needed. For a limited time, save 10% on your first order with Happier at HelloLingo.com.
The Lingo glucose system is for users 18 years and older, not on insulin. It is not intended for diagnosis of diseases, including diabetes. For more information, please visit hellolingo.com/US.
This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Just open the app and tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading influencers, experts, and professionals. Whatever your focus or interest, there's a listen for it on Audible. You'll find titles on better health, including personal fitness, nutrition, and relaxation.
Hear ways to improve your relationships, both in your work and personal life, or how to embark on a new career strategy. If you want to overhaul your financial life or hear smart talk about investing for your future, you'll find that too. Ultimately, it's all about starting good habits. Making a positive change is the best resolution you can make for yourself, and Audible can help. There's so much opportunity and more to imagine when you listen. Let Audible help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/happier. All right, Gretch, we're back with this week's happiness hack.
Elizabeth, we know that one of the habits that people most often talk about as boosting their happiness is regular walking. And sometimes, though, it's hard to keep a habit up. And our listener, Nora, had 2 good suggestions for helping the habit of walking stick.
Yes. Nora says, I have some ideas about how to maintain a walking habit. First, pick up trash while walking. I live close to a beach and I regularly walk around and pick up trash. It's great exercise and makes the walk feel more meaningful and gives me a big sense of satisfaction. Also, give yourself a destination. I live in LA where driving is the norm, but if the destination is less than a mile away, I walk if possible.
Well, see, I think this is such a great idea for so many reasons. First of all, one of my secrets of adulthood, and yes, my book of secrets of adulthood is coming out April 1st, so that's very exciting. But one of my secrets of adulthood is a quest is more fun than a jaunt. And so it can be fun to be like, I'm going to see how much trash I can pick up today, or I'm going to run that errand at the drugstore, can make it more fun than just going for a walk.
Gretchen, of course, I have to mention David Sedaris here, one of my favorite writers.
Yes.
Who is known for walking around the countryside, picking up trash. So much so that they named a trash truck after him in his town.
A new kind of honor he did not expect, perhaps.
Yes.
And then also, this could be good for obligers, because often people will say to me, I want accountability, but I don't want to take a class, or I don't have anybody who would want to do this with me. I can't find an accountability partner. Here, you're sort of accountable to nature or to your neighborhood, your community, by saying, well, if I don't go, then there's just going to be all this trash. But if I go, I'm really doing this good in the world. Or, oh, I have this errand to run, or my child needs Band-Aids. I'll go pick it up. I'll walk a mile, pick up the Band-Aids and walk back. That, I think, is a kind of accountability. That kind of efficiency also can appeal to a questioner. And I just think for all of us, there's just something about getting something done that can make an activity more satisfying.
Yes. You know, I live near Mulholland, Gretchen, a big street separating the valley from LA City. And there's groups of people that get together and walk Mulholland and pick up trash. So it's a social event as well.
Well, that's even better, because then you've got the social.
Yes.
You can make one new friend and strengthen your habit of walking. So, Nora, thank you. Those were 2 great suggestions for a habit that can be such a happiness booster. And now a know yourself better question. Okay, Elizabeth, I love this question, which occurred to me as I've been thinking about like the empty nest / open door phase of life.
Okay, Gretchen, I can't wait to hear, because I love these know yourself better questions.
Okay. So what I realized is one of the things for me that makes this period of life challenging, kind of this transition to the empty nest, is that I feel like I don't have a good memory of my own experiences. Like, I talk about this all the time. I'm not good at remembering my earlier life. You have of our life as sisters, as like children, you have a much better memory of it than I do. And what I realized is I have flashes of vivid recollections, but I don't have a feeling of the ongoingness of my life. What it was like to be in fifth grade, what it was like to be a junior in college, what it was like when Jamie and I were first married. I don't have that sense. And this occurred to me because a friend of mine who writes young adult fiction, I said to her, how do you remember so much about what it was like to be in middle school and high school? And she said, oh, I can always conjure up the past. I can just replace my current self with my former self. And I know what music did I listen to? What were my worries? What my friends like? What was my schedule like? She can just remember that. And so I realized that she is a movie person. She can go back and watch the movie of what it was like to be in seventh grade. I have snapshots. I have like one vivid picture of that afternoon when I had that conversation with that friend in that hallway, but I can't recapture the ongoingness of it. How about you, Elizabeth? Because I think you do have a better memory than I do. Are you a movie person or a snapshot person?
I think I am more of a snapshot person. I think that images come back to me and then I remember things around the image. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to go back and sort of watch it all unfold.
Sort of to remember the ongoing experience of it.
Yes. I would love to do that.
I know.
For certain periods, other times, certain middle school periods, I'm sure we're happy to not remember.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think I'm ultimately more of a snapshot person.
Well, but this is what I realized as I was thinking about my project Empty Nest is that because I know this about myself, I'm really good at taking photographs, making photo albums, keeping mementos. I have my memento boxes for the girls and for myself. I have a file box where I keep all kinds of important documents and invitations and school photos. I have examples of schoolwork. I have all kinds of things that I've hung on to, but I've never gone back to review them. And so I think one of the things I want to do this year is I want to start at the beginning and review everything. And I'm hoping that maybe I'll get enough snapshots back that I will kind of have a sense of more of a movie. Because I'm thinking, I don't remember what it was like to have a baby in a crib. I don't remember the experience of walking in the morning and picking up a baby from a crib and taking the baby to change the diaper. I can't really get back there in my mind. And I'm hoping that by reviewing all these artifacts that I've collected, that'll help to jog those memories or make them more salient.
That's one of the beautiful things about technology is it's so much easier now to take videos.
Yes.
Adam took some videos from when Jack was a baby that when we watch them, all of those memories come back. But I mean, without the videos, I wouldn't remember him standing up in the crib in his sleep sack, trying to get free and all of those cute things. So videos help.
We have some videos, but they're not on our phones. So I need to figure out how to access that. But again, I have all these artifacts kept. I need to go through them and actually use them to jog my memory. I mean, this is why I created the memento journal, which I love so much, to help keepsakes, the one sentence journal to help keep a journal, because I think that all these things can be so helpful, but then we need to review them. We need to actually use them as memory prompts, or at least I need to use it as memory prompts. That's one of the main reasons that I did it. And I realized that I've just never actually accessed it. So this is a big thing that I want to do this year, because I do really believe that it would make me happier to have a richer sense of the ongoingness of my life. And I think insofar as I'm experiencing the poignancy of the end of this season of life, parenting with a child under my roof, I want to have a better connection to the past.
Well, you'll have to report back once you do your review and tell us how it goes.
It's going to take hours and hours and hours, but I'm very excited to do it. And now for Four Tendencies tip. This is a question that comes from Becky.
Yes, she says, I'm an obliger and my husband is a questioner who tips to rebel. He tends to come home at the end of the day and immediately begin asking me irrelevant questions. And he usually asks the questions while I'm doing some unpleasant chore. Does Jacob have homework tonight while I'm cleaning up a dog accident? Have you talked to my mom about Thanksgiving while I'm washing the dinner dishes? Do you know what the weather will be this weekend while I'm switching out loads of laundry? I just find this so irritating, and he's clueless as to the chores I'm doing while he asks me questions that he could find the answer to, or questioning me about things that I'm doing for him even though he should be doing them. When I express irritation, he says I'm sensitive and gets mad. He's not making conversation. He's just shooting out a barrage of questions. I don't know how to handle his endless questions at the end of every day. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids. Any advice from you or your readers would be great. The truth of the 4 tendencies has helped me so much.
Okay, I have so many thoughts. The first one is, this is very common response to questioners. So that may not be comforting, but it is something that many people report, which is they feel drained and overwhelmed by the questions of questioners. So this is a common thing that people feel in response to questioners. And I would also say, just as sort of a preliminary thing, is that to him, it probably seems like you're free to answer. He thinks, well, you're doing dishes, but like that leaves you free to talk. He's not thinking of the mental load that comes from formulating answers, which can be very draining, just to like dredge up an answer, even to a simple question, especially when you're busy doing something else. So he may just be like, well, you're actually free to answer because it's not like you're on the phone. So he may be thinking that.
Yeah, but it could still be annoying.
Exactly. So here is one of the things that I would suggest, and that is question time. So if you look at Wikipedia, Wikipedia defines question time as a question time in a parliament occurs when members of the parliament ask questions of government ministers, including the prime minister, which they are obliged to answer. It usually occurs daily while parliament is sitting, though it can be canceled in exceptional circumstances. So I would say to him, we're going to have question time. You have a lot of questions. We will set aside question and answer time, and I will answer your questions then. And then the trick for you is to hold that time. And if he asks you a question, just say like, leave it for question time. Because he's a questioner, you might say like, it's just not efficient to ask all this stuff this way. It's very distracting. It's irritating me. I don't have access to information. Just add this to your list of questions for question time. And, because he is a question, explain your reasons for this. What it is efficient, it's more customized to your relationship, how you want to answer, how he wants to have his questions answered. If you need to, you can take notes or you can coordinate better. You can figure out what needs to be done. And in this way, you can limit the questions.
Yeah. And during that question time, don't look up an answer for him.
Yeah.
He can find it on Google as well as you can. So say, oh, look that up.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard people say, like, we all have the same Google, meaning, why would I say, Elizabeth, what time does the movie start? Or Elizabeth, what's the temperature outside? It's like, if I don't have special information, you look it up yourself. So he can't just use you as that. But again, you have to hold the line. Do not allow yourself to pull out the phone and look up something that you don't know any better than he does. Now, you probably, if you're an obliger, are going to need to create outer accountability for holding to question time. And I would suggest this. If you have 3 children, it is very likely that one is a questioner, because questioner is just a very common tendency, and you're married to a questioner. So I would say you probably have at least one questioner child. So you can think of this as showing your questioner children, you're showing all your children healthy boundaries. This is something where it's very annoying to you, so you've come up with a solution that meets both people's needs, and so you're going to hold that boundary. You want to preserve your focus and mood so that you can be a good family member. You don't want to be irritated. You don't want to be snappish. You want to maintain a loving atmosphere in the home. And if one or more of those are questioners, you don't want to model that kind of someone responding to a barrage of questions. You don't want to show them that that is acceptable behavior. Because I have to say, as somebody who's spoken to so many people of all the 4 tendencies, this is a real problem around questioners. Many, many people feel this around questioners. And so if you get a boss who's like, I don't like all these questions. You're undermining me. You're slowing things down. You're questioning my authority. Or it's a teacher saying you're slowing down school. This isn't useful. Or it's just a friend who's like, man, I don't want to put up with this. This is something that many people around questioners complain about. And many people who are questioners, who are adult questioners, say this is something that you need to learn, which is how to ask questions in a constructive way so that you don't get other people all annoyed. Like, it's an important thing to learn as a questioner. And so you want to be part of creating an environment that will model for children the proper way to handle this so that it's not deeply annoying to somebody.
Well, Gretch, I would offer just another take on this.
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay.
She says he's not trying to connect, that he's not trying to make conversation, but maybe he is. Because I just say this because I feel like I ask questions like this to Adam and it drives him bonkers, but I often am trying to connect. So he's like, this is a useless question, but I'm really just trying to like check in and say hi. And it's just the way I'm doing it. So I don't know, maybe she should just consider that. It may be that because he feels like, oh, here she is doing the dishes, that makes me feel kind of bad. So I'm going to kind of stand here with her and be doing something with her.
Yeah.
So that I'm keeping her company.
I mean, if that were the case, you'd say, why don't you give him a task?
Well, that was going to be the next thing I said. If he comes up and says, what time is the soccer game on Saturday? Why don't you say, hey, finish unloading the dishwasher, I'll check.
Yeah.
And, that's a good way to unload some of these chores, which it feels like Becky could definitely have some help over there with a lot of these chores. So, maybe she could use this to her advantage.
Right. He says, have you talked to my mom about Thanksgiving? Be like, no, I haven't done that. I'll go get on the phone with her and you finish doing it.
Exactly. So anyway, just a thought.
That's interesting. And you want to take that into account that it might be the sort of bid for attention, in which case also question time might be useful because you're sitting down and you're very
undivided attention.
The undivided attention. Then you really have somebody's focused attention. And it might be helpful to say to a questioner, just because they are very focused on efficiency, one of the things you could say, instead of saying snarkily, which I think is often my response because I'm married to a questioner, was something like, I sometimes say things like questions without answers, meaning I'm not going to get into it, or save it for question time. You could say something like, I really want to like give you a thoughtful answer. So let's talk about that at question time. Or we need to do some planning around that. Let's talk about that at question time. So this is something you can calibrate.
Yes. But it's a great question.
It's a great question. It's a very common pattern for sure.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any suggestions, I'm sure this comes up a lot. If you found something that's useful, please send it in. As somebody married to a questioner myself, I could use those suggestions too.
Okay, coming up, I give myself a dog-related demerit. But first, this break. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. Maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's a part of your story you've been wanting to revise. Gretch, I know as a writer, I'm always wanting to rewrite my story on the page and in life. Well, therapy can be your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live. I know that without having done therapy, my life would be completely different. There is no way I would be a TV writer.
Right. Yeah.
BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. And you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Write your story with BetterHelp.
Visit BetterHelp.com/happier to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gretchen Rubin.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Okay, Elizabeth, it's time for demerits and gold stars, and this is an even-numbered episode, which is a demerit episode for you.
Yes, so Gretchen, my demerit is that I have done nothing in order to stop my wonderful dogs, Daisy and Nacho, the corgis, to not bark so much. We know corgis are prone to very loud, incessant barking. And no doubt we call it dog training, but it's really, as we all know, human training.
Yes.
We could make this situation better, but we've done nothing toward that end. And as a result, they just bark all the time.
Well, it's funny because, it's always this question of, is it a bug or a feature? Because they are meant to have a loud, piercing bark so that they can
Yes.
more effectively herd cattle or sheep or whatever. But in your house, it is less of a feature.
Yes. So we need to focus and as a family, do something. So that's why I'm making this a demerit. I'm hoping, as always, by talking about it, I'll convince myself to take action.
Or are you just used to it and you're sort of like, so be it. This is like the nature of the dogs.
Well, I'd be fine with that for myself, honestly, but it's the neighbors, it's people coming over
Sure, yeah.
that I feel,
Yeah.
if it were just us, we probably wouldn't care because they're
Yeah.
our dogs.
Yeah.
But it's everybody else
Oh,
I
good
feel
point. Good point.
indebted to make this better.
Yeah.
So that's me. What is your gold star?
Okay. So remember I had my big epiphany where I was thinking scheduling is terrible. I so dislike scheduling. Scheduling is the worst thing that I do. It's such a waste of time. And then I had my epiphany that scheduling is life and that my life is my schedule. And by shaping my schedule, I'm shaping my life. And so I just kind of reframed the way that I feel about scheduling. So I had sort of a similar epiphany with email. So I was thinking, email takes so much time. I feel like I spend half of my workday answering email. It's such a time suck. It's such an energy drain. The minute you empty it out, it fills up again. But then I realized, I was telling myself it was so inefficient to be spending all this time on email. But then I realized, no, email is efficiency. In my life, it feels like it takes so much time to do email. But if I were not using email, if I were trying to do this by phone, if I were trying to meet people face to face, if I were just texting, any of these things for me would take far longer and be much more inconvenient than email. And so now I think email is efficiency. It is the thing that is saving me time.
No, what's interesting, Gretch, is you are the only person I know who prefers email to texting.
I don't understand how that can be possible because for so many things, email is better. How do you use texting for scheduling?
I think texting is just an ongoing conversation, so it feels very real time. So you kind of know exactly what everyone thinks in the moment, whereas with email, you can get lags. People don't realize other people have responded, which makes it confusing. I don't know. But it depends. Now, if I'm sending a document, like if Sarah and I are sending each other a document, then yes, we use email. There are certain things we need email for, but...
Well, maybe it's just our workflow and our kind of the way we engage with our friends and stuff. But let's say you were sending out a notice to not even a mahjong group, like a book club saying, hey, just wanted to remind you, it's Tuesday. Let me know if you're coming or not. You would do that on text.
Well, for that particular thing, I would use email just because that's how it's been done. But I actually think texting would be better because I also think people maybe feel more compelled to respond on text because they know they saw it.
But this part of what I don't like about it is I like to just do things in my own time and I like to batch things. And so I don't like the feeling that, and then I finally, now I'm much better about marking things as unread so that I don't just utterly forget that they were there. But I feel like I'm much more likely to forget that I got a text. I'll read it and think, I'll just look up something and text them right back. And then I never think of it again. Whereas with email, it's I use my email. I do what a lot of productivity experts say, don't use your email as a to-do list. I 1,000% use my email as a to-do list. I will often create an email to myself to act as a reminder to do something on my to-do list. Yeah, so maybe this is just a good example of how all of us use these tools in different ways. And so maybe you say text is efficiency.
Right.
It's just this idea that something that you feel it's constantly requiring me to take action or to take notice. Actually, it's probably better than not having it.
Yes. And it's reframing anything the traffic meditation and all that. Yes.
Yes. Remind people of what traffic meditation is.
Yes, that is when you're stuck in traffic, use it as a time to be meditating about being in traffic.
To do traffic meditation.
As opposed to feeling very frustrated that you are sitting in traffic.
And I remind myself, I love nature and I am nature.
Yes.
I don't like traffic. And I am also traffic. I am both. The resource for this week. So we're already, a couple weeks into the new year. If you are falling behind with a resolution or a habit or a challenge, I've created a resource to help you refocus, figure out what actually works for you. It's based on all the research that I've done, and it provides advice so you can really personalize it and use frameworks that are right for you. So maybe you're feeling behind, or maybe you haven't even started yet. That's fine too. You're never behind. Start where you are. It's designed to help us all reset and create a happier 2025. If you go to happiercast.com/happier2025, you can find it there and get started. And Elizabeth, one of the things we're working on is hashtag read 25 and 25. What are you reading these days?
I'm reading Look Closer by David Ellis.
And I'm reading When Mrs. Coverlet Was Away by Mary Nash. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Make one new friend in 2025. Let us know if you tried it and if it worked for you.
Thank you to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Lemonada.
Please rate us. Please review us. Please follow us. And if you like the show, tell everyone you know.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. Elizabeth, I think the next time that you and I are both in Kansas City at the same time, we should go back through all the photographs of our childhood together, because we've sort of looked at little stacks here and there, but I think it would be fun for all four of us, for mom and dad too, to like really go back. Remember we watched those old family movies last time, and that was super fun. Maybe we should add that of the list of things that we want to do the next time we're together in KC.
Yes. I would love to look at all of our Nantucket pictures.
Yeah. One thing I love to see is the clothes. It's so funny to see what people are wearing. From the Onward Project.